Today, I'll be ranking every Evomon in the game on Roblox from worst all the way up to the best. Each Evomon will also be on my blog shown below in the description. I highly recommend bookmarking that page for whenever you might need it. Starting off with C rank. Twirlby and Gempress are basically the same problem twice. Plain bug types with nothing special going for them. If you want poison coverage for grass types, just go grab the Wisphex instead and save yourself the trouble. Sorry to those who love the steel, but Tinkore is also not it. Sure, it handles rock and ice pretty well, but it crumbles to grounded water. Then we got what I'm going to call the water trio of disappointment. Bubblade, Clamspire, and Merefish. All water type, and also all underwhelming. Bubblade in particular is one of your 3 starters at the start of the game and is the weakest of the bunch. Pebolem and Spikumane cover the same fire, rock, and ground matchups way better. Leafblade, another starter, gets an early pass because grass helps you steamroll the first few areas full of water and rock types. But the second the game opens up, it stalls out hard, trust me, I know. And Frostelle, it's kinda rough. Grass and ice sounds cool on paper until you realize there's like 7 different types that shred through it. Fire, flying, bug, poison, rock, steel, fighting. Pick any of those and it'll probably work much better. Chirphantom also rounds out at the bottom, a flying type with nothing really unique about it. If you're looking for flying, keep watching the rest of the video because we got much better options coming up. Moving on to B rank, these are the Evomons that are usable but still replaceable. Like, these aren't bad, they're just in the way of something better. Viparch is a pure poison type, which sounds fine until you realize its only job is beating grass. And there are Evomon later that do that job while also doing 3 other things at the same time. Sundercrene, another flying type, actually holds up early on against grass and fighting, but for later game, it gets left in the dust once Volcrest enters the picture. Silvanarch is a defensive grass pick, and it's genuinely okay if you haven't found Tarragon or Datunymph yet. Once you have, there's no reason to even keep it around. Mopillow is kind of a weird one. Pure normal type means it's never great against anything, but it's also never terrible against anything. It's a jack of all trades, support pick if that's your style of gameplay. Glacitadel, not sure if I pronounced that right, gives you ice type coverage early and it's fine as a placeholder. The second you find Frosteer, I would probably swap this out as soon as I can. Flullastar is a rock type that exists in the shadow of 2 better rock types we'll get to on later in the video. So again, it's skippable if you got the options. And your 3rd starter, Blazmane, actually is a solid pick early on in the game. Fire type coverage matters in the first regions, but it starts to fall off once Lavarock shows up. Alright, I'm gonna pause real quick. Do you notice a pattern among all of these? A lot of these B rank picks are only good because you just don't have the better version yet. Keep that in mind because we're about to get into the Evomons, which are actually worth building around. A rank, the real contenders. This is where the team starts to look a little bit dangerous. Wisphex is a poison psychic hybrid, giving it serious range. It can even take down heavy hitters like Tarragon thanks to its poison attacks. Starmuse, pure psychic. It's a fantastic pick if you need something to demolish poison and fighting types. It's pretty simple and it's also effective. Spikumane is one of the few ground types worth mentioning. No secondary typing, but it covers fire, rock, poison, and electric well enough to matter. Pummash hits hard as a fighting type. I would think of it as a glass cannon. Great for picking off normal, rock, ice, and steel threats, but don't expect it to tank any hits. Pebolem is your early defense rock option, and it's actually a pretty good one. Just know it struggles once opponents bring the right counters. Thordlord is a grass ground combo, and it's excellent against electric types specifically, which is a big deal since electric shows up constantly. Just watch out for fire, flying, bug, or ice matchups. Empixy. This one's actually pretty worth grabbing early on in the game. It's a strong fire type you can get from one of the first islands, just a notch below Lavarock. And lastly, Datunymph, a grass psychic, is actually one of the better psychic picks, especially useful against poison and fighting. Alright, now we are finally on to the S rank Evomons. I would highly recommend building your team around these in specific. Let's start with Volcrest. It's a flying lightning combo, and that dual typing is what earns its spot in S rank. It's got answers for grass, bug, fighting, water, flying, and steel all at once. That's like 6 types one Evomon can comfortably handle. Its only real danger though is a rock or ground opponent, so as long as you're watching out for that, Volcrest is a solid choice in your roster. It also pairs beautifully with Tarragon or Astraknight, covering exactly the gaps they both leave open. Speaking of, let's also talk about Tarragon. Grass Dragon is a rare and powerful combination, and what puts it in S tier is the flexibility. Its dragon attacks hit hard, but the real value is access to wide-hitting grass moves that can damage an entire enemy team at once. Not many Evomon can threaten a whole full team in one move. That alone justifies the ranking alone. Lavarock also earns its spot by being the rare Evomon that's both offense and defense in one package. As a Fire Rock type, it dishes out solid damage while also being like tanky enough to take hits back. That combination, hit hard and survive longer, is exactly what makes a team reliable. Just remember to bench it against water, ground, or fighting, since those are the only real cracks like in its armor. Frosteer is also here for a simple reason. It's the best ice type in the entire game, and it's just not even close. Ice usually comes with a long list of weaknesses, but Frosteer's typing is clean enough that only dragon types can reasonably fight back. If your opponent doesn't have a dragon on their team, Frosteer is close to unstoppable, and that kind of consistency is pretty rare and why it's made the cut. Alright, we're moving on to our last two best Evomons in the entire game. Astraknight is the highest risk but also highest reward pick on this entire list. As a fighting type, it's built to demolish normal, rock, and ice types, and it only has two weaknesses in the entire game: flying and psychic. That's an incredibly short list of counters, especially compared to something like Frostelle, which we ripped apart earlier, for having 7. The catch is that Astraknight isn't a tank. It's built to hit hard and end fights fast, not to sit there absorbing damage. So if a flying or psychic type shows up on the other side, it goes down fast if you're not being careful. That's why it's earned S rank on damage output and typing alone rather than survivability. Basically, it's a glass cannon with one of the best type charts in the game attached to it. Pair it with something that can actually bait out or tank a flying psychic hit, and Astraknight will single-handedly win you fights against 3 of the most common types you'll run into. And at the very top, the Evomon you've been waiting for this entire video, the S tier best Evomon in the game, is Arcapex. This is the most complete Evomon in the game, and honestly, there isn't much of a debate about it. As in an electric type, it threatens flying, steel, and water, 3 types that show up constantly throughout Evomon, meaning you'll almost never have a match where Arcapex isn't doing something at least useful. Compare that to something like Astraknight, which is incredible until it kind of isn't. Arcapex doesn't really have that problem. Its only weaknesses are ground and rock, but those are easy enough to play around with since you'll usually see them coming. It's definitely not the flashiest pick on this entire list, of course. It doesn't have a wild dual typing gimmick like Volcrest or Tarragon, but that's kind of exactly the point. It's consistent and it's also just safe. It slots onto almost any team composition without creating a glaring hole. It doesn't ask you to build around it, and it rarely leaves you stuck with no answer. That kind of like reliability across dozens of matchups is pretty rare in Evomon, and it's exactly why Arcapex sits at number 1. So if you're looking for the strongest possible lineup as of right now in Evomon, aim for a mix of Arcapex, Astraknight, Frosteer, Lavarock, Tarragon, and Volcrest. That is like your S tier core. And if you're just starting out, I would recommend starting with Blazmane if you want an easier early game, but remember to keep other Evomon in mind. Everything evolves and so should your team. Anyways, that'll be it. Subscribe if we helped.